8th of May, it's 3:15 in the afternoon here in Australia. It's Tuesday and I'm going to do another awareness video. I'm on a bit of a roll with all of these. I've been really busy doing a lot of research into what's coming forth in the space. I'm really interested in blockchain, and it's an amazing space for disruptive technology, and there's a whole heap of new applications and new protocols coming forward that are going to really muck up a few industries and really challenge existing infrastructure and ask a lot of companies to adapt to a new way of thinking. And that's the big power of blockchain and the gamification and the tokenization of the space, because at the moment there's a lot of centralization, there's a lot of distance between consumers and content providers, and I think there'll be a lot of people will be able to relate to this. And one particular part or market that is going to be a multi-billion-dollar space is being able to connect the consumer to the content providers and the platforms and the marketing companies that connect to all of this content in a very, very seamless way. So what Media Protocol application is going to be doing is they're going to be encouraging content providers and the relative platforms that they may be sharing their information on to be a part of a space, be a part of the Media Protocol, which will then connect the consumer or the end user and reward via remuneration of a media token for all interactions. And there's going to be, and I did look in the white paper, there's a whole heap of different elements that the media token actually contributes towards it. It's going to be a utility token, and it's going to, like I said, reward content providers. It's going to reward the platforms that provide the content by being involved. It's going to reward the advertisers that will be picked up, because there'll be what happens is that a particular content provider will be able to choose via smart contracts who they actually want to interact with. It's also going to empower more subscriptions and reward smaller interactions. Steam is already doing, in the sense that they're rewarding content providers by blogging on their platform and even making comments and things like that. I think this is the next level, where you're actually bringing existing platforms into a space and rewarding them for being a part of a big community. So I have covered some other applications that are doing things very similar. There's OnLive, and there's obviously Media Protocol. A lot of content at the moment would probably feel that they're doing a lot of work for not necessarily much reward. I think even on YouTube you've got to have over 1,000 subscribers now to even get accepted for advertising. There's a lot of really good quality writers and blog writers out there. There's a lot of people doing tutorials or a smaller scale to what they're receiving now. It's got to be a positive thing, and I think what will happen is it will encourage more content providers to get involved and share their skills and their passions. So I have opened up a whole heap of tabs, as I do, and I've got a couple of paragraphs, and I'm just going to read these out to you. Media Protocol redistributes power from existing media owners, third-party intermediaries that disproportionately benefit from the exchange of content and centralized distribution platforms. So things like YouTube, and we know that Facebook, and they're skimming our information. They take all this information for free, and they're doing what they want with it. They're the ones that get the money from the advertising. They're the ones that get all the money from the subscriptions. So I think there's this is going to bring a lot more power back to the quality creators and the publishers, and also bring the consumers closer to these creators and publishers, and that's what we want. Anyone that does it will know that we want to have a little bit more interaction. We want to have a little bit more attention. We want to know that our hard work is being rewarded. So how does it all work? I think you'll find that the current content monopoly is held by a centralised group of media owners, and content distribution platforms are inefficient and unsustainable. Creators, publishers and consumers alike desire more control and transparency to create, distribute and consume equitably with no intermediary gatekeeper. So essentially removing third parties, the person in the middle skimming all our information and benefiting the most. These type of protocols will enable you to have your own website and create direct smart contract arrangements with the end user, whether that's a member or a part-timer, maybe someone coming past and visiting your website on a particular day, will be incentivized to interact via being able to earn media tokens. And it will actually create a huge, if people get involved, what I can see is that if it catches on, you'll get a huge community. And when they see certain platforms that are involved with the media protocol, they're more likely to interact if they know that they're going to be able to accumulate media tokens. So the media token, which is going to be media, M-E-D-I-A, are the means through which value is exchanged within the media protocol system. It's going to be the fuel and will be exchangeable for fiat on the exchanges, etc. I've had a look at the white paper. There's a smart contract specific page where it talks about how it's going to be a utility token and have different elements and applications. So there was talk about gas in that sense that it'll have to run the platform. There'll also be the ability to reward content providers, reward the platforms who are participating, advertising, subscriptions, all sorts of things. So it's going to be an internal currency and a network which will run all of the different rewards or remunerations. Today, content distribution is inefficient and is mediated through social platforms and search engines that control large audiences. These content distribution platforms harvest huge amounts of valuable engagement and preference data from content consumers. Google, Facebook, YouTube, all the social media platforms where there's no reward for the interaction. I mean, Steamit's the only one I can think of, and it's great. I'm on there. I get more rewards for my contribution, even if it's a little bit. It just makes you feel more inclined to want to continue to get involved and to reward. And you can also reward your followers if they come on like they do on my Steemit blog. I tend to always upvote them for participating and making a comment. And I think, apart from the spam, I'll let that go. But I think it's a nice thing to do. I like doing that. I feel good rewarding people who have made the effort to tell me how they feel about my blog or about other content that I provide. What else have I got here? So the media protocol is an open architecture that creates a multi-directional economy where publishers, creators and content consumers exchange content, data and incentives, including financial incentives, directly. And that'll be done via smart contracts on the Ethereum platform via an ERC20 token called Media. This will allow consumers to be compensated for their content interactions and the preference data they generate. All actors involved in the creation and consumption of content recognise the important role that audiences play in the reception, perception and distribution of any given piece of content. Existing economic models, however, cannot compensate audiences for the role they play. So I think the advantage of this is that media tokens are going to really bridge all of these different elements of what's actually happening on the existing internet now, and really it's going to be an incentive to get more involved. It's going to be a direct involvement, and I've seen that on Steemit. So what else have we got? Why the blockchain? Why do I highlight this one? Consumer focus. Yeah, so the media protocol is designed to help the marketing, content and advertising industries transition towards more consumer-centric models. To the end, this media protocol team is committed to creating a multidisciplinary industry working group to facilitate the adoption of all media, advertising and content blockchain protocols by publishers, brands, social networks and agencies. So what that means is getting all of the existing platforms, the publishers, the content providers, and also the media and advertising all in one, and being able to engage with people on a consensual basis. So let's say I've got a gym and I'm writing fitness-related articles, and I'd like to set up a relationship not only with my consumer, maybe my reader, my part-time reader or a subscriber. There's an incentive to get involved, but maybe I can set up a smart contract with an aligned advertising agency. Maybe it's a Fitbit, for example. Maybe they want to advertise on my gym page, and I can create a smart contract and there's a remuneration agreement for advertising across this particular gateway. And I think that's a really good way of bringing a direct relationship to the content provider and the advertiser. At the moment, we've got to go through YouTube or we've got to go through Google, and guess what? They're making all the money, and they're not even rewarding the content providers. So I think that it's an end game for them. If they don't step up and change the way they operate and don't give back to the content providers, I think those platforms could really struggle over the next 10 years. You'd be really surprised how fast the market can swing towards a new direction. And I just know that blockchain is going to disrupt all of these particular platforms. They're going to have to adapt, or they're going to be left behind. Simple as that. Now, the application that they're going to bring out is obviously it's based on a proof of concept. They're talking about it called a crypto catnip DApp, which will provide a proof of concept for the protocol, a reference architecture for those building dApps on the platform, and a bootstrapped engagement inside the ecosystem promoting adoption and onboarding users. Third-party dApps. It is essential to incentivize the creation of dApps by third parties. Such applications could contain different features and focus on different topics or topic areas than Crypto Catnip. For example, they may contain more features for content as two-way conversations, different ways of sorting and filtering through content, or may embed aspects of media protocol into a broader app. So essentially, someone like a YouTube or a Facebook, or maybe you'll create your own application for your own blog or whatever you've got, can actually then incorporate the media protocol within their application, and which will give them a greater access to the huge community that this particular team is looking to establish. And it will come down to the community. There's no doubt that blockchain, as much as the technology is awesome and it's disruptive, and there's all these different amazing applications and different niche markets that they're appealing to, I think the future is going to come down to the communities. So if the teams can interact and build really strong communities around their idea and their concept, which is happening. If you go into Telegram, you'll see there's thousands of users following all these different tokens and different platforms, and what's happening is there's this direct relationship between the team, the concept, the idea, and the actual the entire business protocol. And I think that's what's going to win in the future, and those who interact with their consumers and their community a little bit better will do a lot better than the others. So the token circulation. Now, the only thing I couldn't find, and I've looked and I went back and forth through the white papers, I couldn't find a total token supply. Normally we see a certain amount of tokens produced. Some platforms have a never-ending supply of tokens. It's infinite. Now we know that things like Ethereum and stuff like that, but it has to be mined, so there's always a particular time frame before the next series of tokens are released. But I'm unsure how the media protocol is going to be distributing their tokens at this stage, in the early stages of their concept. What I do know, and what I have picked up on, is that the way it's going to work is they're going to reward content reward the consumers for faster interaction. So if you've got a follower and it's a blog, you really love it, if you get on there and interact with these blogs in a really speedy time frame, you'll get rewarded with more media tokens than, say, if you're not really interacting with these particular entities that often. So what it does is rewards the direct communities that are more interested in and are more likely to engage with this content more often by giving them more tokens from the start. And I think it's a three-way scale. To bootstrap initial usage of Media Protocol and provide a reference to assist other developers to create their own apps, we have created a prototype app called Crypto Catnip. Crypto Catnip is a news and media aggregator for the crypto world, providing an accessible and friendly user experience where content interactions are incentivized and tracked through the blockchain. It will tap into machine learning algorithms using analytics based on the blockchain data to make personalized recommendations and feed each consumer the most relevant content. So I think that's a relevant paragraph. It sort of explains what they're doing. They've already got an application. It's actually available on your favorite application store, so it's available at Apple, it's available on Google Play if you're on Android, and I'm going to download it, and I'm going to have a play with it. I think that's the best way to sort of get an idea. If you don't like it, you can always just delete it, but it's interesting to see what they've actually already got in the space. Now, this is what I was talking about with the tokens. So there's going to be, for example, if you interact with the particular content within the first hour, you'll get 500 tokens. If you interact with the content within the second hour, you'll get 300 tokens. If you're 3 hours late to the content, you'll earn 200 tokens. And I think this is just a model and an example. I'm not too sure if that's going to be the exact way the tokens are distributed. Obviously, there's an algorithm. It'll all come down to how much you allocate to the budget for the content, and I think that's at the discretion of the publisher. So it's going to vary. Maybe you've got something you really want to have a go at and really push forward. You might provide greater incentives for people to get involved with. Maybe you've just got something that's not as important, and you might have a smaller budget towards these particular bits of content. So it sounds like it's going to be customizable, which will allow you to attract consumers at different levels. Now, there is algorithms. I'm not going to bore you with this. You know, this is a really comprehensive white paper, and I'd have gone all the way through it just to get as much as I could out of it. Consumer spending options. So once consumers have earned rewards for interacting with content or have bought media protocol tokens via an exchange, acquired tokens can be spent in the following ways. So number one, you can tip your favourite content creators using their token balance through the DApp. Number two, you can pay for access to paywall content, either pay per article or a subscription-based using DApp interface. It's up to you how you actually set up your content. Exchange for any other token via, or such as Ethereum, via an ERC20 exchange. And optionally, you can tip DApp creators using token balances through a DApp interface. So not only we're rewarding the platforms for having DApps that the DApp, you can reward a certain percentage towards those DApps. And I think what you might find, there'll be a lot more decentralized DApp applications coming forward, which will take away a lot more of these put a lot more pressure on these centralized applications, a bit like YouTube and things like that. Getting to the end, what else have I got? Oh, these are the smart contracts. It was talking about how the smart contract will allow you to record content, create delegated addresses, verification signatures, subscriptions, live active subscriptions, cancel subscriptions, also promote URLs and all sorts, and there'll be subscription IDs. But all this is just small stuff or detailed stuff that's in the white paper, and it's up to you to get involved and go and have a look at it. So I think media protocol as a concept is going to become a norm. Websites and most platforms that we exist already integrate and already interact with today. So it'll be something you probably in 10 years time, and you'll see YouTube do it, you'll see Facebook do it. Obviously things like media protocol and their application, if you've set that up in your space, pretty much everything that you interact that's got the media protocol will also provide these incentives. And I think that's getting pretty close. Get into the white paper. That's it. Media protocol. Let me know what you think of this one on my Steam It blog. Do you think that this is a disruptive technology that's going to make a difference? I think it is. I think it's going to really empower content providers and publishers and give them greater access and rewards for their effort. And I think that's really, really important at the moment. We're just getting used, and there's no doubt that, like I said, YouTube and Facebook are just using our content on a daily basis. Not that we go onto Facebook necessarily to make money, but I think the future will be the more you interact with the internet, the more you will get rewarded. And I think that's what blockchain and tokenization is going to do. Obviously, we've got to be mindful how much time we spend on the internet, otherwise we'll get consumed by the Borg. I think in China they've got nature deficit disorder now, NDAA, or nature deficit disorder, NDD. So we've got to get back out, and we're going to remember you've got to be mindful of technology. We're going to go and hug a tree every week as well, so every day if you can. So that's all I got. Thanks guys for watching, and let me know what you think, and tune into my next video. Cheers.